Okay, it's Wednesday, time for another review. Today's review is like the last one. This game came out a little while ago. Today's game is Spec Ops: The Line. Now, let me just preface this review by saying a couple things. Number one, I really dislike military shooters. I don't like them. I don't like to play them. I think they're pretty boring, and there's just not a whole lot of variety to them. Now, I can kind of get into a bit of Battlefield 3 multiplayer because there's more to do there. There's vehicles and all of that different stuff, but for the most part, military shooters are just the same basic thing. It's just go here, shoot the things, go here, shoot the things, and that's all they really are. That being said, Spec Ops: The Line definitely makes it in my top 10 games. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, this is a modern military shooter. How does he like it so much? And I'm going to explain it to you. One more thing before I get started with the actual review. If you haven't played this game, I really, really recommend that you do. If you don't play any other game that I recommend, definitely play this one. And also, if you haven't played this game, I'm really going to try and keep this review spoiler free. Now, normally I would go through the bad parts of the game first, and then I would go through the good parts, but I really can't find anything to complain about with this game. There's one part in the game where I wish you could do things differently, but that's really not a complaint. That's more of a testament to just how dark this game can be, and I will get to that a little later. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about this game is a third-person cover-based shooter, and I'm going to say this right now. It is probably the best third-person cover-based shooter I have ever played. Now, some of you out there who are Gears of War fans might be like, oh, what about Gears of War? Those are really good cover shooters. And yes, they are, but this is probably the best. It's the best. And now, if any of you have played Mass Effect 3, you know that the cover system in that game is pretty abysmal. They pretty much have one button for everything in that game. So the sprint is the same button as take cover, is the same button as vault over cover, is the same button as pick something up, is the same button as activate something. It's one button does everything, and it really messes up a lot of the time. Even with Gears of War, the sprint to take cover to vault button is all the same. Now, this isn't as bad as Mass Effect 3, but it can still get you into trouble sometimes. Now, what I mean, if you've never played a cover-based shooter, let's say you're running up to this piece of cover and you want to take cover there. Now, because most games have it keyed up to the same button does the sprinting and the cover and the vaulting, what can sometimes happen is you can sprint up to the cover, think you're going to take cover, but actually vault over it and leave yourself exposed. What Spec Ops: The Line does is it does what every cover shooter should have done, and what every cover shooter that will be made should do. They set the cover system to two buttons. Sprint and take cover is the same button, which is good, because if you're sprinting, you want to take cover right away. But what they did was they made the vault button a completely different button. So there's no chance that you're going to be sprinting up to cover and accidentally come out of that cover to be shot and killed. Another thing that this cover system does well, that a lot of cover systems don't do at all, is it allows you to look pretty much everywhere around your cover. Now when I say pretty much everywhere, I mean it's really simple to look over cover and also look to the side of cover without having to leave your cover. Also, let's say you're here's your cover, you're sitting behind it here, you can point your gun here or back here and not have to leave cover. Most cover systems, if you try and do that, you're going to stand up and get out of cover to look either that way or this way. Also, and this is really great, if you're on cover that's a railing and you're sitting behind the cover here, you can look over and down the other side of the railing to shoot at people down below. I have not come across another cover system that really lets you do this. And if there is another one, I really don't think that they have done it this well. You can literally look straight down over the railing to shoot at people down below. It's really well done. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, I really don't like third-person shooters. I don't like cover shooters. I don't see the point in me playing this game. Well, if you're a fan of any sort of good storytelling, here's why you should play this game. If you've heard anything about Medal of Honor Warfighter, and you probably have, you know that it was supposed to be a really dark and serious take on war stories. Now, it sort of failed at this. Spec Ops: The Line is what Warfighter should have been. This game is dark, it's gritty, it's serious. The story is so well done. Now, what I said before about how I wish I could have done something differently in the game that the game didn't let me do, but I said that it was actually a good thing and it made everything just more dark. This is what I'm talking about. This game is not happy. If you have no idea what this game is about, just know this. It is not a happy game. I don't think there's been a game that has been so serious and so dark that I have felt so much guilt and remorse for what I was doing. There are some parts in that game where you really have to sort of just step back and take a moment, because some of the things that happen in this game are just so ridiculously just brutal, and once you realize what's happened, it's heartbreaking. Now, another thing that this game's story does really well is keeping you from knowing what's really going on. And not in a bad way, in a really good way. Really early on, you think you know who the bad guy is going to be, but then it turns out that you were completely wrong. Now, again, if you've never played this game, but you do know something about the story, I can guarantee you, you've not been spoiled. At all. At all. I mean, I knew a bit about the story before going into it. I knew that things weren't what they seemed, and I still came out the end just completely blown away. I was totally surprised as to what happened. And this is because the writers did such a good job writing for this game. I mean, it's so meticulous, and just everything about the story that they did was perfect. And I'm not going to say this word a lot in these reviews, but it was perfect. And now this whole game, I never thought I would actually say this in a review, but this whole game is, for lack of a better word, was perfect. Other than the occasional bit of difficulty spike, it's really not that big of a deal, to be honest. And I think it's a good thing, because this game should be hard. And when I say this game should be hard, it sort of calls into question what most military shooters do, and instead of allowing you to take 50 bajillion bullets at a time, you can only take a couple before you die. I mean, they really want you to take advantage of the cover. They want you to be careful. They want you to really plan out what you're doing. And so this game really has a good amount of difficulty to it, and even though there's those few little difficulty spikes, I think that's a good thing. Games should be hard. I mean, not all games should be hard, but I think a lot of games these days, games that really should be hard, aren't that hard at all. And I think that it's really great that this game sort of brings back that difficulty. And so yeah, I really can't find any sort of fault. And I'm gonna do something that I didn't think that I would actually do. And I'm gonna give this game a 10 out of 10. This is a game that you have to play. Just, if you don't like military shooters, I didn't like military shooters, play this game. This game is amazing. If you don't like cover shooters, play this game for the story. The story is superb. It's phenomenal. Play this game. Okay? But anyway, that's it for today. I'll see you guys on Friday.